to today's Facebook Live. I am so excited for each and every one of you to be joining us today. I'm your host, Brittany Bird, and I am super excited that we are here with Chloe today. We were just chatting before we came live, and we have an amazing lesson planned for you today, okay? So before we get started, I want you to say hi in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from, okay? I'm up here in Ontario and Chloe is in Minnesota. So let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. And Chloe, so let's dive in. You have a really interesting story of how you went from being a social worker all the way to being an online health coach. So want to share your story?
Yes. So it definitely goes like this. And then there's a few roundabout turns. And then now I'm sitting here. But so my bachelor's degree is in social work because I love people and I like to talk and I like to learn about people and figure out what makes them tick. So I was like, cool, I'm going to do this. So with that degree, I started doing youth work, working in camps and in after school programs with foster families, with, everybody from kindergarten to 12th grade, working on how to empower them to make their lives better in whichever way they felt like they needed it. And so I did that for a couple years. I grew up playing sports. I was always really athletic, but through that time, if anybody has been in that industry, you know that you work really, really hard and you work a lot of hours, and that doesn't really leave much time to take care of yourself. So I was working not kidding, 80 hours a week, every week, maybe even a little bit more, really not taking care of myself at all, it's just looking back, I'm like, what the heck were you doing? But anyway, so it was a process of doing that. What?
I think we've all been there.
Yeah. Well, I was definitely there. And so, through that, I was working with all these clients. And then finally I started realizing sitting here talking to you is we're just talking. And I kind of got tired of talking all the time. And especially with kids and with young people, I was like, we need to move. Let's do some stretching. Let's do some yoga. Let's do something. And, through all of that, I was living in Texas for a while and then relocated back to Minnesota. And just in my own life, I wasn't in a very good headspace. Like I said, I wasn't taking care of myself. I just had a lot going on in my personal life. Mm-hmm. And so my mom, obviously, I'm very close with my mom. She's body goals. She's got bigger guns than me. And she wanted to get certified in group fitness. And she was like, you're going to do this with me kind of whether you want to or not. And I was like, okay, let's try it. So we got certified in cycle, and I started kind of slowly teaching, but I still was not really that confident in myself or my own abilities. But I've always liked to be in front of people, and I love music and I just love performing. And so it was kind of bringing that side back out of me. And I just slowly started teaching more and more. And I was like, wow, when I'm going back to my social work clients, the healthier they are, the more that they're moving, the better everything in your life becomes. And there's such a lack of resources for the people that I was working with, for women and for communities of color in that world. I was like, I need to bring that in. There's no resources. How can I do that? So then I became totally obsessed and was like, where can I teach? When can I teach? I want to teach. I'll teach anything. And so I was teaching a lot of group fitness. And, I had known about being a health coach as a thing. And I was like, wow, that sounds like what I want to pair. I want to pair my social work skills and I want to pair this love of fitness and movement and working on that. And it sounds like a health coach would do that. But in order, of course, to get certified as a health coach, you have to be a trainer. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just get this over with. Whatever. I did it online. I did it through ACE. And, I really liked it. I mean, it was mostly only about the anatomy part though, which of course is really important. But at the time I was like, let me just get through this. Yeah, I know what a bicep is. Okay, cool. The path of blood through the heart. Okay. I know, which is so bad. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's just true. And so at one of the places that I was teaching group fitness, I became connected with kind of the personal training department there. And they were like, hey, like, we need some trainers. Do you want to do it? And I was like, do you want me to do it? Like, okay. I was just like, I have no idea if I could be good at that. I like to be in groups, but like one-on-one, like, sure. So that was when I totally did a career switch and I left my social work job and I was like, I'm going to be a personal trainer. And everybody I think that was around me was like, you're going to do what? Like, why? Like, what do you mean? And I was like, I just had to, I think, we were talking a little before, I kind of have a pattern of living my life of just being like, I'm going to go for it. I woke up today and I want to do this. So I'm going to resign something and I'm going to start something new. But like anytime I've done that has ended up being like one of the best things for me ever, consistently, not just one time. So I became a trainer and worked for probably like 5 months. And then I moved into the management position there, and was supervising trainers, still training, still teaching group fitness, and still following the PTDC, trying to be like, how can I be an online trainer? So like I said, that was a lot of that, but now I'm here.
I think that's a really great point for those of you that are watching, because I feel like a lot of people feel like these great trainers that we see were like born into it, right? And no one was. So it's really great to hear that, you came from a different background, because there's probably people that are watching or, watching the replay that are like, I'm doing this job right now. And they kind of feel like they're half in, half out. And they're wondering if maybe they should take the leap. So I think that that's really important that you let people know that that wasn't your first career choice, that this was like a second thing for you. And then when you did make that decision, you were kind of like, okay, I'm doing this. And even though you had people that decided to speak up to you and say, you know what, like, it's something that like, why would you, and that's how a lot of people think, like, why would you leave this job that you probably went to school for, right? That you're going to go to be this job that's like a personal trainer, which I find a lot of people don't really take it seriously. And that is kind of something that it makes it really hard to want to do that, because it kind of sounds like a crazy idea. Like, why would you do this great job? But there's so many people that we've interacted with that are through the PTDC that were realtors, or they were police officers, or they were nurses. So all of these coaches were not initially that when they started, right? So I think that's a really important part for you to mention. Okay, so when you first started as a trainer, we kind of talked about this a little bit before we went live. Tell us about kind of the clients that you were dealing with and how you decided to get to where you are now. Because if you guys haven't checked out Chloe's website, she did put it in the comments. You really should, because if you want to know what we're going to be talking about today, which is the 1% advantage, Chloe's website nails it. Like, she nails it. I would say that I'm like Chloe's target audience. Like, ooh, like, it's so nice. And I was like, what kind of programs is she offering here? So if you're looking, if you want to know more about how to identify with this, and we're going to touch on this as we go through this about branding and the 1%. But Chloe, what were the first types of clients that you started working with?
Yeah. So when I first became a trainer, I would literally work with anyone. Like, if anybody looked my direction, I would be like, do you want to train? Yeah. Do you want to work out? And like, no, seriously, like, I worked at a large like gym facility. And so, you're on the fitness floor, and I would seriously, like, one of a great mentor that I had taught me this, but I would literally walk around and just be like, and give out free tips and be like, here, try this. Oh, it's leg day. Let me show you something. And then walk away. And then like hope that they would come back and train with me. And they often would. I got a lot of clients really quickly because I was just so like, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do it. Whatever, like, I'll do anything. And, it was an important step in the journey, but I think through that, I had people who I just wasn't a match with. And then I would be like, why, they would come to me and be like, why isn't this working? And I would come to them and be like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And so it was kind of like a weird like relationship of like what it comes down to is just we either don't have the same communication style or I just don't know enough about you and your body and the things that you're looking to do because it's either not me or I have no, you know, I can only read so much about it and try to help you. But I wasn't really able to get in your head of like what makes you tick. I mean, anybody who's actually trained knows that it's so much more than just being like, here's a cable machine. Let me show you how to use it. Like you have to figure out how to get them motivated and to get them empowered and really wanting to feel good because everybody wants to feel good. But then when it comes down to actually doing the work to get there, if you can't figure out what makes somebody tick, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I wish I worked with everyone, like all ages, every, you know, demographic, every race, every age, like everybody. And then eventually I was like, okay, who doesn't really want to work with me and who don't I really want to work with? And it kind of slowly like, and I think maybe without myself even realizing it, the longer I trained, of course, you have like your long-term clients and they all kind of started like looking the same and being the same. And then I was like, okay. And then, you know, as my books got more full, it was like, I couldn't take as many new clients. So I had the ability to be like, okay, like, who do I like? And who do I maybe not like? And who doesn't like me? That's because I'm like, I've become okay with that too, of like, really, a lot of people aren't going to like you. You know what I mean? I'm loud. I'm annoying. I want to do crazy things all the time. And not everybody likes that. And I'm like, that's okay because
I think that's a really, really important point to make because I know early on as when I first started coaching, you have these clients that are not, you know, your personality types just don't jive and you take it personally. Totally. But we have to remember that we also judge other people. And we choose who we like and who we dislike. So we have to, if we're going to judge other people, we have to be okay and understand that people are going to judge us. And it's not a bad thing at all because why would you want to spend any of your time with somebody that doesn't like you and that you don't like them?
Yeah.
Like, you're just taking away time from people that do like you.
Yeah.
And I remember who was talking about this. I think it might have been Stu McLaren, but he said that you want to attract people that you would want to be friends with. Like you want people that it doesn't feel like work. And if you can figure out how to do that, then you're really not ever working at all, which is amazing. I think that's what many of us want. Now, you had mentioned before we went live that your first kind of transition to creating this, which at the time you didn't really know you were creating your 1% advantage, but you cut out men from your market. So do you want to explain the reaction that you told me, what people said when you weren't going to train men or when you weren't going to train the high school athletes anymore?
Yeah.
Because that's something really important for those that are watching, that they understand that it's okay to say no to those people.
Yeah. It was hard. I mean, let me say that again. It was really hard. And I got a lot of pushback on being like, hey, I am a health coach for women. And I'm a health coach for women aged 25 to 45. And I'm a health coach for women aged 25 to 45 who want to achieve confidence and they want to feel sexy. So first of all, putting the word sexy in there was like, ugh.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, because at the end of the day, like female energy is a powerful thing and sex appeal is a part of that, whether you like it or not. But anyway, back to, you know, not having men as part of my clientele was like, you know, a lot of people, and it was mostly men who were saying like, oh my God, they were like, you're cutting off so many clients. Like, how could you ever survive if you only train women? And I was like, okay, yeah, but like, you know, I still have half the population left, right? Like, it's a niche, but it's like not really. And it's weird to me that it is because I'm like, it's women. So I got a lot of pushback from that, but it was, you know, narrowing it down was really like, I don't like working with men because they don't like working with me. And I told you before, it was like two things. It was either the men didn't want to listen to me. Sorry, guys, but you didn't. Or they thought I wanted to date them, which, sorry, guys, but I didn't. And it's so, it was like, I don't, it was always like my male clients. And, I have some friends that I worked with that are males that were cool. So if they're watching, like, I'm not talking to you, I'm going to get some texts like, what the heck? But it was just like, they're the ones that I'm like agonizing over or just feeling like I don't really want, like, I'm like, everybody has those clients or has probably where you're like, oh my God, I got to meet with so-and-so again today. And like, what are we going to do? Like, and so it was like, that pushback was hard, but it was worth it because I knew that I was doing what was best for me. And now, like, I've gotten to the point where, like you said, my clients are really like people I want to be friends with. So I love when I get to do my phone calls because I'm like, hey girl, what happened with that? And it's so fun. It's like, I love it. And I really look forward to talking to them. And there's never a moment now with people that I have where I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to say on this call? Or, things like that. So it's like,
okay. I'm going to pause you there because I think this is something really, really important. So for those of you that are watching at home, let me know in the comments, yes or no, do you have clients right now that are exactly what Chloe just said, where she said that you're like, oh my God, what am I going to say to them? And that they don't energize you. Like, and so let me know in the comments, yes or no, if you have those clients, okay? Because if you're saying yes, you do, that means you have not found your 1% advantage yet. Because when you find that 1% advantage, every single client you work with is exactly what Chloe just said. You're like, hey, like,
yes, it's so awesome.
Yeah, and that's so important because when you think about it, and we were talking about this before, when you say yes to a client that doesn't fit your niche, you're saying no to somebody that does fit your niche. So you're literally putting up with somebody that you don't want to put up with. So you cannot have time for somebody that you actually enjoy hanging out with and talking with. And I mean, it's so funny because we were kind of talking like before about talking to our clients, and it's like, they're our friends. Like, I kind of have this idea of when I bring a client on, it's like, would I invite them over to my house for a barbecue? Like, if that's a yes, you can come on as a client. But if you're a no, like, I don't want it to feel like work. I want it to feel like I'm talking to a friend. So so from that step there, you decided that you were not going to work with men. How did you, like, what is your kind of way that you determine, like, to let people in almost like a velvet rope, right? Like, what is your, like, they have to be this age, or how do you know that a client's a right fit? And how did you figure out, like, how are you like, okay, these are the types of clients that I'm going to work with, and then I'm not going to say yes to any of these other clients?
Hey, real quick, I know you're into this episode, but I wanted to let you know that if you want to get started with online coaching, then I have a free gift for you. It's a free 3-day course, and in it, you'll learn the core truths guaranteed to get you online fitness clients. You can register with your email at onlinetrainer.com/intro, or if you're in the United States, simply text PTDC to 444-999. Thanks, now back to the show.
For those that are watching at home, how could they find their unique selling point?
I think that what I ended up doing was picking, like, okay, who is not only gotten good results from working with me, but who is effortless, that I don't ever have to resell to, or I don't ever have to be like nervous that they're going to end up unhappy with the work that I do. So when I like really quieted the noise of everybody else and their opinions about who I should be working with and zeroed in on who's effortless, it was bizarre how clear it was to me. And that's why I'm like, I love the OTA, because like, even though I knew that, having to like write it down was so powerful, because at first I was like, oh my God, if I write this down, like it's going to be real.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to have to like act on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important, because we all have these clients, right? And we know, but when you actually, and what I actually did was I wrote a list of like all the characteristics that my clients had that I really liked. So I liked the ones that would come to me when they had a problem. They would ask me about it. They wouldn't avoid me, right? Because we all have those clients that you know they're struggling, but they're not comfortable yet at the point where they're actually okay to ask you questions.
Yeah.
But there are some clients that if you ask them, they will dump it all out on you. And I appreciate those ones, right? Because you don't want to work with the clients that are going to be like, oh, I'm fine. And you're like,
yeah,
totally
oh my God, yeah.
There's a reason you're paying me right now.
Right.
Like, it's okay if you're not fine, but I can't help you if you don't tell me. And then also the ones, like we were kind of talking about this before we hopped on live, that I had a client that actually sent me a letter by mail because when I was doing a Facebook Live, my dogs were barking, and she said it was like super unprofessional. And also, I'm kind of a swearer, which Chloe and I talked about that she is as well, but we're not swearing. But
if my mom's watching this though, Mom, no, I don't swear ever.
Exactly right. But sometimes, and then so you want to work with, like, I have some clients that when they send me messages, like they capitalize the F word, right? Like to let me know how brutal like those sprints were. And I'm just like, yeah, like I pick up on that. I'm like, I totally know how she's saying that word right now. And I'm like, I will put the funniest like GIF on the way back. And like, those are the clients that light me up, that you never feel like I'm like, man, if I could do this and still somehow pay for my bills, like it kind of feels like, it doesn't feel like work. Right. But then you have these clients that it's like you're pulling teeth with them and identify those and look at what are those characteristics that those people have. And you can start seeing like how you have a list of people that you want to work with and then the ones you don't. So now we were talking about how, now that you've kind of narrowed that down, how do you attract those people to you? And now you know who you want to work with. Well, how did they know that you even exist and that they should be working with you and no one else?
Well, I think that once I picked them, I was like, wow, I like working with them because they're a lot like me. And so, you know, it's also part of like, I've been there and I work with women on how to really build your confidence and feel good, because I've been there with really low self-confidence and I know like how you question everything. And I just know. And so it's helped me, speak on social media in a way that like words that I need to hear. And the thing is, a lot of times like my posts and stuff are because I'm going through it and I'm like, ooh, this really speaks to me and I feel this. So probably someone else will too. And I think that it's important to mention that we talked about it a little bit before, but you know, social media age and blah, 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 the fitness gurus on there that have millions of followers and millions of shares and all that stuff. It's easy to get and look at that and be like, damn, I only got 10 likes. Like that clearly didn't resonate with anybody. That probably sucks. My messaging is awful. I'm the worst. And, you know, we've all been there, but my kind of little tagline is that like likes and shares don't equal invoices paid.
Yes.
And I mentioned that I have a good amount of clients that have contacted me out of the blue, and they've been in my network through my social medias for whatever reason, but they've contacted me and I've been like, oh my God, like you don't like a thing. You've never once commented on nothing, but here you are like effortlessly signing up for my program. So, and they're like, yeah, I've been watching. So I think it's just, you just have to keep it going and stay true to that voice and always think about who are you talking to. And I think my website helps a lot with that too. And it helps filter out people that aren't for me, because my website is so explicitly clear of like, this is what I do. And, you know, like you said, you look at it and it just speaks to you as far as like the layout and the spacing on it and the fonts and all that stuff. So, if you visit my website and you're not for me, you're probably not going to get to that point where you apply. And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want it to be for everybody, but I think that for me, having that website was a big game changer of kind of one, making it like, hey, like I do this. This is not just a side job. Like I'm a legit thing. And then also being able to send people there and then they can make the decision of I like you or I don't like you.
Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about that because now you've identified who you want to work with. And I talked a little bit about the social media, but this is something else we talked about before we went live about the importance of like branding and knowing, like having somebody in your head. So for those of you that are watching at home, thinking about somebody that is your target market. So like like you had mentioned, you write for yourself when you are writing these posts. And I do something very similar. So I will write, like if I have a conversation with one of my target market clients, if she's going through something, I will write based on what we were talking about. And I believe it was Alex, I think, from last week that had talked about how that's how he writes his content for his Facebook strategy and Instagram.
Yeah.
If the client asks a question, he will take a note and he will save that and then he'll write the content for it because those are your target markets. So if that one person in your target market has that issue, they probably all do. Like, and another great option too is doing like Facebook Lives with your clients that are your target market because then your target market will see that you're working with people that they are like, and they can understand how you're talking to them as well. So we'll take it one step deeper and we'll talk about branding. So your branding is super specific to your target market. So do you think that, and I mean, I obviously know because I'm your target market, and I will tell you that it works, but I think it's really important for those that are watching that they understand that it's the whole thing. It's not just the stuff you post on social media, but it's also your appearance on social media. So how did you come about to that branding?
Well, first of all, I have a friend who's an amazing designer, and she also happens to be in my target market. So she helped me out a ton with that just because I have so many ideas in here and sometimes it's hard for me to like get them down. But I think it just goes back to like just staying true to yourself and really being like, who do you want to work with? And then researching the heck out of them and finding out what are they looking at? Where are they? What do they like? Like, online, what do their pages look like? What do their posts kind of look like if they're posting? And just for me, I
think that's really important that people forget about the language of how your target market speaks.
Yes.
Because, when I was reading your information, we kind of posted a little bit about this in your blurb, how you did the survey, right? The first survey that John talks about. Yeah. And surveying your audience, guys, is incredibly valuable. If you survey your target market, you will see that there's trends in words, and you can use those words. Like my target market always talks about the all or nothing mentality. Like they wish they didn't have that anymore. And they talk about how they want more confidence. So when it comes to you writing to your target audience, they're literally giving you the words.
Totally.
You can speak to them. Yeah. So I think that that's super valuable because on your site too, like even down to your fonts, I'm like, ooh, good font choice. So you're like, that's really nice. Like, I'm like, ooh, that's nice. But I think that's really valuable when it comes to because like women, like your audience, which is like busy women that want to feel like more confident, sexier, you can literally pick that out when you go to your website because there's a lot of white space and like we like white space, right? We're like, ooh, white space. And then there's like some like words in italic that are important, and it's very you pick up who you're attracting. Like if I was a dude, I would go to that website and be like, this is totally like, but this is a great opportunity to ask, like, what would if you were like, I've worked with some firefighters and stuff before, and I remember their website was like, it was super dark, it was like black, and it had like red writing on it. But that's because that's who they're trying to attract. They're trying to attract firefighters or first responders, and they get that when it comes down to their marketing. So for those of you that are watching at home, when you are making Instagram posts, having that consistency of your brand is super, super valuable. So Chloe, do you use, do you have a brand board then?
Kind of unofficially. I feel like I'm okay, so I'm a Gemini. Let me just say that. So I have a lot of personalities. And so it's hard for me to be like, this is my brand, because I'll wake up today and be like, this is my brand. And then tomorrow I'll be like, oh no, this is my brand. And like part of that I think is all of that is what makes me me. And is why I'm able to kind of communicate with different people. But so, in a nutshell, it was hard for me to decide on that website, even though I love it and it's such a part of me. I have so many aspects where some days I'm like, change it all. I don't want this oh no. So I'm trying to just give this brand board kind of a good run before I allow myself to change it, because otherwise I would literally change it every day. Or if somebody was like, I think you should do this instead, I'd be like, oh, let me try it. Boop, boop, boop. But I have to just be like, no, stick with it. People like it. You like it. Because at the end of the day, I like it. I just come be all over the place sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good point to make, that I think some of us forget about, that we are not our own, not everybody is our own target audience.
Yeah.
So you might not necessarily like it, but your target audience might rave about it. So that's a really good point, that, and then also to not get hung up on those things, right? To be changing them.
Yes.
Too often.
Oh my God.
And
yeah.
With it, because the consistency of having the same thing all the time helps build your brand.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say for those of you that are watching at home? What would you tell them when it comes down, because they could be right now, they're like, I take everybody. I am the person that you were. So what would you tell them in regards to taking that next leap?
I think a couple things. I think first, there's no right time. There is literally never going to be a time where you're like, okay, today. So whatever, everything's uncomfortable until it's not, right?
Yep.
So I think that there's no right time. And then I also think that as long as you truly be yourself and let your personality shine, those clients will come to you and you'll find them. And then third, I said, it's not easy. I mean, I'm on here and I'm like, I'm like, it's awesome, it's great. But I have a lot of days where I'm like, oh, I can't do this. It's not going to happen. And I think, we talked a little bit about, that's something that a lot of female trainers have in common, is the second guessing and the wanting to be a people pleaser all the time. And so I think that if you can get to a place where you let that go, and you kind of just have to have that F it moment and take the leap, and it might not work. Even still now, I have some days where I'm like, this might not work, but there's always a job out there, right? I can literally always go get a job. Even if it's not in fitness, I could go get a job. But until that point, I might as well try it. So I think that if you can just swim through that uncomfortableness and be okay with not pleasing everybody and stay true to what you really want to do, that's what will gain results in the end for you as a trainer.
Absolutely. That's really, really well said. And I'll bring that back to what we were saying before we went live, how I think we often forget that two things. So it's always a no unless we ask.
Yeah.
So, what is really worse than the situation that you're in right now? Because you could have your ideal clients, you could be working with them, but you're kind of choosing not to by not putting yourself out there. Because
Absolutely.
the worst case that's going to happen is you don't get those clients. But guess what? You don't have them now anyway. So
right.
really, you're kind of already in your worst case scenario that you don't want to be in when you think you fail. You're actually there. So I think that's something really important. And then also too, we were talking about the difference between men and women when it comes to training in the gym. And I love that point, that how we see a lot of, like, as females that go into the gym, if you don't know what, like, I know as trainers, we do know, but this is a perfect example that we see those guys in the gym and our regular clients would think that they know what they're doing, but we know that they have no idea. And it's kind of the same in the fitness industry. We can look at people's like Instagrams and Facebooks. And like you'd mentioned, like, followers don't equal dollars and they don't pay your bills. So you might be looking at somebody's Instagram and say, oh my God, they have like 10,000 followers, but you don't know they could have bought. Like if you really dig deep and see, a lot of those people with 10K followers only have like 27 likes. And I know for a fact that is like, they're not making money off those 27 likes. So that's something super, super valuable that you said that I just wanted to point out again. Now, we had a question from Lauren. Lauren says, I like some of my clients too much. We kind of BS after workouts. Will they take me seriously next workout session?
Yeah. I think that having that relationship is vital. I mean, if they don't want to talk to you after the session, like, something's wrong, in my opinion. You know, I want to know about their kids and I want them to know about, you know, my house. And I think that as long as you, you know, at the end of the day, keep that clear professionalism, doing that BSing, like, I think that's what makes trainers awesome.
And we had talked about this actually before, and I want to mention it because I think it's super valuable, that a lot of people have the perception that they're going to get their butt kicked and that their trainer is going to be super strict. And I think, and you had mentioned it as well, that when you are working with somebody that you can develop that relationship with, they're going to be more open to talking to you about stuff that's uncomfortable to them, that they almost might feel like ashamed if they were to tell it to somebody that was like super rigid, right? So that's something also to be really mindful of, that there are people out there that when you are vulnerable with them, that allows them to be vulnerable with you. And that, like, it doesn't matter. Nobody's website is going to say that. So I think that's a really, really great point. Well, agreed. Awesome. Chloe, I just loved our chat. This has been wonderful. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Personal Trainer Development Center for joining us today. And for those of you that joined us at home, it was so great to see all of your comments and everything. And for those of you that are watching, you know, don't forget to leave a comment for your chance to win one of Jonathan Goodman's books. We've got 2 different books that we're giving out. So make sure you say hi in the comment. Now, if you want to have a similar success as Chloe's, because believe me, you're definitely going to want to, you're going to want to sign up for our free mini course that's going on right now. So all you have to do is go to thepdtc.com/intro. Not to worry, we're going to post it in the comments because it's always a mouthful and I always mess it up every time. If you're in the US, you can simply text 444. You can text, PTDC to 444-999, and we're going to send you the info that way, okay? So don't forget to join us tomorrow, same time, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, where I'm going to be joined with another person where we're going to be chatting about another awesome tip for you, for your business, you can implement right away. So guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.